when the world's richest guy fathered his 8th and 9th known child.
Musk welcomed twins with one of his top executives.
Elon Musk is a dad again.
They were born weeks before his second child with Grimes.
Again and again and again.
He tweeted, naturally, this.
Doing my best to help the underpopulation crisis. A collapsing birth rate is the biggest danger civilization faces by far.
And while Musk's been warning for years,
civilization is going to crumble.
Other actual fertility experts,
mark my words,
are also raising the alarm. Across the Western world, the fertility rate has been steadily plummeting since the 1960s. Australia hitting record lows last year.
No.
In the 1960s, the average mother had 3.5 babies. Today, that's dropped to just 1.5, well below the replacement level of 2.1. Meanwhile, first-time mums are getting older. In the 60s, it was 20 to 24-year-olds. Now, it's almost 31.
For many people, it brings up those really practical questions around finances and housing and childcare. Many women know that when you choose to have a child, your earning capacity is really disrupted.
Rent is due soon, and I saw that you haven't gotten a job yet. So, you're gonna need to work on that.
And as would-be mums get older, more of them are relying on fertility treatments.
There's an IVF baby boom happening in Queensland.
And while 20,000 women in their early 40s undergo IVF each year, sadly just 10% of them end up with a baby. So is Australia headed for a baby drought, and what does that mean for the future?
Good boy.
Professor John Aitken is from the University of Newcastle and is one of the world's leading reproductive biology experts. Joins us now. So, Professor, we're having fewer babies. Why is that a crisis?
Well, it's a crisis because it's something that's happening not just in Australia, but happening actually all over the world. Since the late 1960s, we've seen a global decline in fertility rates. We're seeing increased rates of people attending infertility clinics. In some countries now, up to 10% of the population is produced by IVF. And there's been a real change in male reproduction. Sperm counts have halved in the last half century. But if we're not prepared for it, then it's going to be a very sudden change. And I think what I'm trying to do with the book I've just published is to engineer a soft landing. People have to be aware that population numbers are going to decline quite dramatically and prepare for that. If we're not prepared for it, then I think chaos may ensue, and we don't want that. So,
when you say, to avoid the inevitable chaos that will ensue, what does that look like? What does fewer people on the planet look like in terms of how we age and how we deal with aged care, all those sorts of things? Can you paint the picture a little bit about why we need to make sure we have a soft landing for this?
There are a couple of things here. So first of all, our economies are very go in lockstep with population numbers. So the Australian economy has increased dramatically over the last 30, 40 years in partnership with the population numbers. So if we don't have the population numbers, we won't have the relentless growth of the economy. With declining fertility, what we have now is a population pyramid, which is turned on its head. We have a small number of young people working furiously to maintain a large population of elderly people. And that's an unsustainable situation going forward. And it's no wonder that fertility rates are falling if the younger members of society are so preoccupied generating the resources to keep the older members of society in the way to which they've become accustomed.
So what's the solution?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So what are the solutions? So first of all, we have to try to understand the phenomenon. So why have sperm counts halved in the last 50 years? Why are so many couples infertile? Some of it's due to maternal age, but a lot of human infertility is unexplained. The other thing we have to do as a society is to recognize our biology. We're a very unusual species in that we stop reproducing in midlife. By the age of 35, fertility is declining in women, and by the age of 40, 41, 42, it's gone. We can't kind of ignore that. We have to engineer society around our biology, not expect our biology to adapt to our social needs. So that those are quite sort of profound things that have to be done. The other thing we have to do is make it easier for younger couples to have children. And that's to do with Scandinavian-style parental leave schemes that will be supportive of young couples wanting to have families without endangering their professional careers.
Where does choice come into it? The choice to perhaps not have kids or only have 1 or 2 kids?
Well, I think choice is exactly what we're trying to achieve. So as a reproductive biologist, if you ask me what my ambition in life is, well, it's to provide people with choice, that they can have exactly the number of children that they want. And in order to enable that, we have to do two things. We have to provide safe, efficient means of contraception, and we have to provide a deep understanding of the causes of human infertility so we can alleviate them or prevent them, preferably. If we just keep reaching out to IVF all the time, there are going to be major implications for the future. Currently in Australia, 7% of the population is generated by IVF. In other countries, it's 10%. That's a kind of unsustainable situation for the future, and we have to get a better handle on what's causing the infertility and prevent it rather than just treat it when it appears.
What about the idea of freezing eggs at a young age, allowing women to have children a bit later with the financial stability and perhaps when their careers are more established, if that's something they want, but without some of the obstacles that come with having a baby a bit older? Or does that present a whole lot of new obstacles doing something like that?
No, I think that's a very sort of rational choice for young women to make. The one thing you have to be aware of is that it's not inevitable that once you've frozen your eggs and they've been thawed, that they will generate a child for you. It's quite a different thing from embryo freezing. With embryo freezing, we can pretty much guarantee high rates of fertility. But with egg freezing, it's not so certain.
Well, it's been a great chat, Professor. Maybe we need to find a way for men to be able to have the kids as well. Get the show on the road. Help us out.
Well, it's certainly a couple thing. This is not just about female fertility, it's also about male fertility. And we just need to understand a lot more about the process so that we can manage it better.
Carrie, just leave us and our low sperm counts alone. Professor, thank you for your time.
If you could carry the baby as well, it really broadens our options, that's all.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank you.
Every man will agree that they would do it, because we'll never be asked, really. John's book, The Infertility Trap, is out now.